Hi, Steve. It's Chris. I have so much that I want to say to you, so many things I would like to say to you. Um, I I typed up a little word version for me to read from to talk to you because if I don't, it would just come out as a giant blurry mess of words that wouldn't make any sense to anyone. Um, so I hope you don't mind that I'm going to be reading this as I go to sort of help me stay on track here. Um, the first thing I want to say is I'm sorry. I am sorry for so much. While we were growing up, we were closer than most people could ever hope to be. Not only were we best friends, but being two closeted gay kids who were only out to each other brought us even closer than most people can understand. In many ways, you and I were even closer than Kathy and I could ever be because of that. We were there for each other during those crazy years when puberty hit and our emotions were all crazy and new and confusing. Even more so because we were so secretive about our true selves and so full of fear that other people might find out who we were and what we were. That, but but we always knew that we had each other, and that meant everything. And yet, when it mattered most, I failed in being there for you. You entered a phase of discovering religion and experimenting with marijuana, and I just didn't want to be around you during that time. And not only was I being unfairly judgmental toward you, but where I absolutely failed you the most is when you came back a few years later with an apology and a hope for us to rekindle that close friendship, and I simply ignored your olive branch. I ignored you because I was still so angry about the feelings of betrayal I experienced during that period. You had been one of my closest friends in the entire world, and yet I let my stubbornness and bitterness prevent us from healing our friendship. You tried. You tried so hard. You wrote me and apologized several times. You wished me happy birthday every single year for years in a row, even though I never responded to any of them. You posted positive comments on Facebook for me, and I responded to all of these acts of kindness with ignorance. There is no excuse for my behavior over the past decade, and words can't even express how truly sorry I am for that. Do you remember all those memories from our childhood, though? So here's it's just some fun memories that I have of us growing up, and I just wanted to revisit some of those with you for a moment here. I hope you don't mind. So I remember when you used to come over and play Worms all the time on our computer with me. How many hours did we spend nuking each other's worms with God only knows what kinds of crazy weapons that they had on there? Um, and then there was also Sleuth. When we were in a less violent mood, we would just play Sleuth. Uh, and that was a fun game, but it was also a little weird at points because it was nothing but those little circular faces for the characters, and then the rooms were just little squares. There was no graphics to it whatsoever, but it was really fun because we could enter in the names of people so that the all the characters in the game would be people that we knew. And sometimes we would even enter in names of people that we didn't like in hopes that the person who got randomly selected to be murdered would be someone that we didn't like. We were pretty silly with that. Um, See, I'm rambling. I'm getting to the point of rambling, and I'm going. Uh, yeah. Oh, King's Quest. Do you remember King's Quest? So after we get through that whole series, you were the only one that ended up getting the final King's Quest after it came out, and so I would always come over to your house afterwards and just watch you play for hours. It was just, I don't know. I think, honestly, one of my favorite memories of my childhood was just all of the gaming that we did together. It was just so much fun. So much fun. There were also the times when we used to, sneak out of the house at 3 a.m. when we were young teenagers, and we felt like we were being so rebellious because we were sneaking out of our homes. But then what did we actually do? We would go to Red Apple and just eat candy and sometimes play Magic. That was the extent of our rebelliousness there. Um, and then there was always the creek. We'd always go and play in that creek, which was super fun during the summer, but yet we also couldn't resist in the middle of winter. And so we'd get out and we'd get soaking wet and freezing and be miserable, but we just couldn't stay away from that ridiculous little creek back there. And then, do you remember Amanda Palmer? Of course you remember Amanda Palmer. We we went back and forth dating her for God only knows how long. She'd date you and then she'd date me, and just the funniest part about that was the fact that we were both gay and yet we were fighting over this woman like there was no tomorrow. Oh, we were such awkward kids. Um yeah. So uh oh, that's right. Do you know one of the silliest little things that I remember about your house that you grew up in was that stupid little taxidermied squirrel that you had in your bedroom? I always thought that was the weirdest thing, but it was also so cool and so creepy. And I will remember that forever. I don't know why, but that stupid little taxidermied squirrel is just forever ingrained in my head. That's gonna be with me for forever there. Um, oh God, do you remember summer camp? That little, I think it was only 5 days. That little tiny summer camp we went to. It seemed like it was forever, but we I hated it. I don't think you had a much better time of it, but it was fun because we did some outdoor activity stuff, which was pretty cool. But they always interspersed everything with sports. Everything had to be all sporty, and then the people. I didn't get along with most of the people, and I even remember on the first night that we were there, someone came up to our tent because you and I were in our two-person tent, and we were just laughing and laughing and laughing, having fun like we always did. And someone came up and started making jokes about us being gay because we were giggling together in our little tent or whatever. And that was the first night. That was the start of that. And then there was that weird little guy that would always follow me around that when I had to pee, he would every time I'd get up during an activity and be like, "Oh, I have to go pee. I'll be back." He'd always be like, "Oh, I gotta pee too. I gotta pee too," and he'd follow after me, and it was just really awkward because I would have to separate myself from him because he'd always try to pee right next to me. It was that whole thing was a weird experience. Um, oh God, it was. Oh God, yeah. I found my old journal recently, the one I started when we were 14. We were 14, and I found some particularly entertaining entries that I thought you might get a kick out of hearing. Um, so yeah, I was 14 when I started it, and it started with you. It was right around the time that we were coming out to each other. So when we did it, I had forgotten about this, a lot of this actually. We did it by playing truth or dare with each other, which of course was generally just truth because we had all these questions we wanted to ask each other, but neither of us really wanted to ask. But we felt like, if you asked playing truth or dare, then you had to answer, and then it was okay to ask the weird, crazy things, the nervous things, the things we were too shy to talk about. So we did the truth or dare back and forth, and just had so many crazy questions for each other. I even wrote in there one truth or dare. You chose dare, and don't ask me why, but my dare for you was to put a bunch of shaving cream in your pants and leave it there for like 10 minutes. I remember that. That was so dumb. And then we also dared each other to, I think you dared me, or maybe I dared you, I don't remember, but one of us had to go under the bed and make sounds like we were having sex with someone else. It just did the stupidest things. We really did. But there was another entry where I was talking about how you and Kathy and I had been talking to each other, and we were 14 at the time, and we made plans that when we all turned 16, we were going to all get an apartment together. And 16, can you imagine? We were not the brightest kids, I guess. And then, but even funnier part of that is I was secretly thinking, after we made plans to get an apartment together, I wrote about how I was secretly planning to have you and Kathy and I have a polygamous relationship together once we got that apartment at 16. Oh, it was so funny. Um, oh, and then here's an entry that I specifically wrote out because it was just so funny. I wanted to share it with you. All right, it was from November 20th, 1998, and it starts, yesterday night, Kathy, Steve, and I went and saw the Rocky Horror Picture Show. It was awesome. I loved it, and it made me so freaking horny. Steve dressed up as a transvestite, and Kathy dressed up as a kind of whorish slut person. I love that description. I loved it so much. We threw confetti and cards and danced the time warp too. End of entry. It was just a really, really, really funny thing. I thought you'd get a kick out of hearing that again. One of the funniest things, though, about reading a whole bunch of the different entries is that like half of the journal, I am just constantly talking about how I like everyone and how much I like each of those people and how much I love certain people and how horny I am. And it was just the whole thing. So like I had entries where I'd be like, I met Hallie Worst today. I think I love her. I also met Stephanie today. I think I like her a lot, but I don't think I love her. I think I like Steve, but maybe not a lot. He asked me twice if I wanted to kiss him, and I answered not really because I really want to be his friend. So maybe I only like him some. And just the whole journal is filled with entries like that. It's so ridiculous. Thank God we're not hormonal teenagers anymore, right? That was a mess. Anyway, back on point. The whole point of this rambling letter speech is to let you know how much of a rock you have been in my life and how much you have helped shape the person that I have become. I have always looked up to you. You have never once backed down from being yourself, and that is something that I have always envied about you and that has always inspired me. You have always lived by the mantra of screw the world, this is who I am, and I will never be pressured into being someone else. And that is not something many people can truly say. So even while I was spending years being childish about our past, you still remained a beacon of light in my world. You always have and you always will. I want you to know that had you been willing to receive visitors during this time, I would be by your bedside right now. I thought about coming down anyway and just hoping that you would be willing to see me, but I didn't want to go against your wishes or put you in that awkward position. But know that if it was something you desired, I would be there with you right now. But know that I am there with you in spirit anyway. I love you, Steve. You are one of my closest friends in the world, despite the years of my silence. I hold you closer in my heart than I hold almost anyone else in this world. You mean everything to me. And I, I don't know, I don't even know what words I can say to tell you how much I love you and how much I care about you and how I wish things were going differently. But just know that you are loved. You are loved through and through, and by so many more people than just me. But but I understand all of the decisions you've made, and I see now I'm just rambling because I don't want to say goodbye. Um, but yeah, I love you, old buddy, Stevie Ray. Stevie Ray and Kristen May all the way. Oh, I remember that time too. Oh, okay. All right. All right. I love you, Steve. Until we meet again.